around here. Kia ora, my name is Sarah and I own a brand called My Keeper. Today I'm going to be taking you guys through a tutorial on how to make the birdie dress. It is my brand new sewing pattern which is inspired by golf. Last year I ruptured my Achilles and my chance of playing explosive kind of sports like netball, kiorahi, touch, things like that are kind of limited. So I'm becoming a golfer, I've decided, and this dress is inspired by that. It is a structured dress with princess seams. It's got buttons down the front, a camp collar, and a really cute sort of flowy lower skirt. I'm really excited to take you guys through this tutorial. It is a brand new sewing pattern that is currently in testing, but is going to be released probably by the end of April. And yeah, I'm really excited about it. Let's get started. The first step is actually to attach pockets to your side panels. However, I ran out of fabric, so I won't be doing that today. So here I am matching right sides together with all of the dress panels, making sure that I'm attaching at the notches that are marked. Don't skip cutting out the notches because honestly the lining up is crucial to the fit of the dress. At this point I like to try on my dresses to check the fit. Sometimes with princess seams adjustments need to be made for different body types. For example, some people might experience a bit of gaping at one of the seams, but don't worry, this is a super easy fix. You just need to try it on inside out, and then where the gaping is you just pinch that a little bit and extend the seam allowance in that particular area. Luckily mine's fitting perfectly, so I'm going to go and overlock the seams. Next up, what I did was sew the side seam of the sleeves together, and I ran a gathering stitch along the top between the marked notches. So I've done that to both sleeves and now they are ready to attach. For this next step, I've got my bodice facing wrong sides outwards, and I'm going to be putting the sleeves inside the armholes and matching at the shoulder seam and also the halfway point under the armpit. So I'm flipping my sleeve right sides out so that when I insert it, it is facing the right side of the bodice. I'm carefully lining up the seam of the sleeve with the middle point of the armhole, and then doing the same with the shoulder seam and the halfway point of the sleeve. At this point you might need to adjust the gathering. It might need a little bit more ease, or it might need to be a little bit tighter, so you can just pull on that top thread of the gathering and just adjust as needed. Next up, we're working on the collar band. For this, I stitched around the outside, leaving the bottom open, and I am clipping the corners to make it easier for the corners to be pressed out.
Oh
now we're working on the collar facing. For this, there are 3 different finishes you can use. You can either do an overlock, you can do a rolled hem, or you can do a Hong Kong seam finish. For me, I was feeling a little bit lazy, so I just went for the overlocked edge, but that's completely fine. It's inside, no one's going to see it. Next up, we're going to temporarily attach the collar band. So you want to have the underside of the collar facing the right side of the back of the neckline, and you want to make sure that these are lined up using the center of the collar band and the center of the back neckline. Now we've got our collar band temporarily pinned in place, and we're going to place our collar facing with right sides, and we're going to match all the way up the center front and around the neckline. Your facing is going to overlap the collar band that you've got temporarily pinned in place, and now this next step is really crucial. You want to make sure you've got 1 inch remaining up at the top of the collar facing. Make sure you indicate this with a different coloured pin or something like that, because we're going to leave this unstitched. Flip that right sides out and make sure that you give that edge a really good press with the iron. You can now remove the pins that were holding the collar temporarily in place. Now we are going to cut a little line in line with where that 1 inch mark was. Now, I was pretty bold using big scissors for this. I would suggest using smaller ones to avoid overcutting. Now you're going to open up the collar band, and we're going to be working with just the bottom layer, and we're going to be attaching that carefully with some pins to the neckline. Now we're going to stitch that in place, and you want to start where that 1 inch line ended, and you're wanting to sew all the way to the other side where the other 1 inch marking is. Now we are going to use the top of the collar band, and we're going to carefully tuck this under by about 1 centimeter, and we're just going to pin all the way along. Now we're going to be marking where our buttonholes are going. So I actually marked the initial button, and then I just marked 8 centimeters between each of them. I didn't bother marking them based on the actual pattern. I found that 8 centimeters was about right. Now every sewing machine is different when it comes to buttonholes. For mine, I've got this buttonhole presser foot, and it automatically does buttonholes for me, which I feel very, very lucky. But I suggest you look up your model on YouTube and see how to apply buttonholes. Next up, I'm just using the iron to press my hem, and I'm going to be doing the same with my sleeves as well. I'm just rolling over 1 centimeter and then rolling over again to make a nice clean finish. The next step is to stitch the facing to the main part of the dress. Now this part is rather tedious, and I'm not going to lie, you actually probably don't need it. It doesn't really move around that much while you're wearing it, so if you can't be bothered, you can definitely give this step a miss. But essentially what I'm doing is putting the needle up through the fabric, and then when I come to the wrong sides, I'm slipping it through between the main fabric and the facing, and then going up and down one more time and continuing that process. And the very last step is to sew the buttonholes on. I know that some machines have a buttonhole presser feet. Unfortunately, I do not have that one for my machine at the moment. I wish I did, so I'm just hand stitching mine, but yay, we're almost there.